Good afternoon and welcome to the English Book Club. So we're starting the event and we'll see who's waiting for me. Hello everybody, sorry I'm a bit late. Hello Paulette, can I hear you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Any
me?
echo?
No, no echo.
Oh, okay. The good news is I've been well, the bad news, good news, I don't know, but I've been working hard on trying to solve the echo problem and I might have solved it for this session. Let's see what happens when I invite more people in. So we've got the Dom, invite to speak. Eleanor, invite to speak. Oh, Hermina's here, invite to speak. Let me just check and see. Ah, hi all too. So,
Hello.
the Dom, hello. So, I've got a question here. Which page did we stop? Let me just add Hermina. Hermina was
I
in
I have already
time-ish.
answered it.
Have you? Oh, thank you. So let me just do that. The Dom and Hermina last but not least. Okay, so everybody was in before the session started at 2. If you aren't on the reading list, you are welcome to just listen, okay? But to get on the reading list, you have to say hello before the session starts. Sort of 2 hours before, any time 2 hours before the session starts. So not this week, for next week, if you see what I mean. Okay, so excellente. Thank you very much, Eleanor. If you want to know where we're up to in the book, always look at the pinned messages. So let's go to the book and you'll see the pinned messages says page 102. That's in the online PDF. Okay, and it's actually page 97 in the book. And it's when I was a little over my anger, I must eat again, which is the last paragraph on that page. Does everybody agree with me? Not that you dare disagree. You always agree. Excellent. That's what I like to hear. So, looking at the reading list, today's readers, Eleanor was the early reader. Not the early bird today, but the early reader. So, Eleanor, are you ready to read?
Okay, I hope you can
Okay.
hear
Oh,
me. Can you hear me?
bear with me 1 second. Nobody told me I was still invisible. Let me go online. I'm green now. Yes, I can
Sorry
hear
for
you.
interrupting you. Can you hear me?
I can
Yes,
hear you.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't do a sound check. I thought I'd do the sound check as I call you to the mic. But yes, I can hear you.
Nina was always in. She was also on time.
Yeah, but where is she?
She is in
Um,
the waiting room.
oh, I can see her. Yay. So let's send a. Okay, bear with me a second. Invite to speak. Okay, so today's readers are Eleanor, Paulette, Nina, Dom, and Hermina. Okay, so, and again, if you want to read, if you want to listen, it's fine. Just come along and listen. If you want to read, you have to be on the reading list by saying hello before the session starts. That way I can allocate the time required. So, Eleanor, whenever you are ready, if you would like to begin.
Okay, I need some courage. When I was a little over my anger, I must eat again. But with such loathing of the mess, I could now scarce control. Sure enough, I should have done as well to fast, for my fishes poisoned me again. I had all my first pains. My throat was so sore I could scarce swallow. I had a fit of strong shuddering, which clicked my teeth together. And there came on me that dreadful sense of illness, which we have no name for either in Scotch or English. I thought I should have died, and made my peace with God, forgiving all men, even my uncle and the fishers. And as soon as I had thus made up my mind for the West, clearness came upon me. I observed the night was falling dry. My clothes were dried a good deal. Truly, I was in a better case than ever before, since I had landed on the isle, and so I got to sleep at last with a thought of gratitude. The next day, which was the fourth of this horrible life of mine, I found my bodily strength run very low. But the sun shone, the air was sweet, and what I managed to eat of the shellfish agreed well with me and revived my courage. I was scarce back on my rock, where I went always the first thing after I had eaten, before I observed a boat coming down the sound, and with her, as I thought, in my direction. I began at once to hope and fear exceedingly, for I thought these men might have thought better of the cruelty and be coming back to my assistance. And another disappointment, such as yesterday's, was more than I could bear. I turned my back accordingly upon the sea, and did not look again till I had counted many hundreds. The boat was still heading for the island. The next time I counted the full 1,000, as slowly as I could, my heart beating so as to hurt me. And then it was out of all question. She was coming straight to Eret. I could no longer hold myself back, but ran to the seaside and out, from one rock to another, as far as I could go. It is a marvel I was not drowned, for when I was brought to a stand at last, my legs shook under me, and my mouth was so dry I must wet it with the sea water before I was able to shout. All this time the boat was coming on, and now I was able to perceive it was the same boat and the same 2 men as yesterday. This I knew by their hair, which the one had of a bright yellow and the other black. But now there was a third man along with them, who looked to be of a better class. As soon as they were come within easy speech, they let down their sail and lay quiet. In spite of my supplications, they drew no nearer in, and what frightened me most of all, the new man teased with laughter as he talked and looked at me. Then he stood up in the boat and addressed me a long while, speaking fast and with many wavings of his hand. I told him I had no Gaelic, and at this he became very angry, and I began to suspect he thought he was talking English. Listening very close, I caught the word "whatever" several times, but all the rest was Gaelic, and might have been Greek and Hebrew for me.
Very good.
Whatever.
Well
Okay.
done. Very nicely read. Excellent. Yes, exactly. Almost perfect. Almost
Never.
perfect. There's just the one word, actually. So, as I say, almost perfect. And it was right at the very beginning. So, it's teeth.
Okay. Teeth.
Teeth. Teeth. Yeah, you've got to get the t at the beginning and the f at the end. Teeth. Very good. Well done. So I didn't ask if there were any questions, and there was one. How many paragraphs do we need to read for each reader? It's not about paragraphs, it's about time. So you can take your time, but you get 5 minutes today. Okay, it depends how many people have signed up to read, and today each person gets 5 minutes. You can stop at any time, so if after a minute you've had enough, but you can't go longer than 5 minutes. Okay, that's the rule. Okay. Aha, it all becomes clear. So, the next person on the list is Paulette. Paulette, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Excellent. So, as soon as you feel comfortable, if you would like.
Yes. Whatever, said I, to show him I had caught a word. Yes, 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 says he, and then he looked at the other man as much as to say, I told to you I spoke English, and began again as hard as ever in the Gaelic. This time I picked out another word, tide. Then I had a flash of hope. I remembered he was always waving his hand towards the mainland of the Ross. Do you mean when the tide is out? I cried, and could not finish. Yes, yes, said he, tide. At that, I turned tail upon their boat, where my adviser had once more begun to tee-hee with laughter, leaped back the way I had come, from one stone to another, and set off running across the isle as I had never run before. In about half an hour I came out upon the shores of the creek, and sure enough it was shrunk into a little trickle of water, through which I dashed not above my knees, and landed with a shout on the main island. A sea-bred boy would not have stayed a day on Erin, which is only what they call a tidal A tidal islet, and except in the bottom of the Neeps, can be entered and left twice in every 24 hours, either dry shot or at the most by wading. Even I, who had the tide going out and in before me in the bay, and even watched for the ebbs, the better to get my shellfish even the better to get my shellfish. Even I say, I had sat down to think, instead of raging at my fate, must have soon guessed the secret and got free. It was no wonder the fishers had to not. It was no wonder the fishers had not understood me. The wonder was rather that they had ever guessed my pitiful illusion and taken the trouble to come back. I had starved with cold and hunger on that island for close upon 100 hours. But for the fishes, I might have left my bones there in pure folly. And even as it was, I had paid for it pretty dear, not only in past sufferings, but in my present case, being clothed like a beggarman, scarce able to walk, and in great pain of my sore throat. I have seen wicked men and fools, a great many of both, and I believe they both had paid in the end, but the fools first. Chapter 15, The Lad with the Silver Button, through the Isle of Mull. The Ross of Mull, which I had now got upon, was rugged and trackless, like the isle I had just left, being all bog and briar and big stone. There may be roads for them that know that country well, but for my part I had no better guide than my own nose, and no other landmark than Benmore. I aimed as well as I could for the smoke I had seen so often from the island, and which all my great weariness and the difficulty of the way came upon the house in the bottom of a little hollow about 5 or 6 at night. It was low and longish, roo- roofed with turf and built of unmortared stones, and on a mound in front of it an old gentleman sat smoking his pipe in the sun. With what little English he had, he gave me to understand that my shipmates had got safe ashore, and had broken bread in that very house on the day after. Was there one, I asked, dressed like a gentleman? He said they all wore rough great coats, but to be sure, the first of them, the one that came alone, wore breeches and stockings, while the rest had sailor's trousers.
Very good. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to do one little smiley because you corrected yourself. Bear with me. Smile. Any questions before I give Paulette her feedback? No. Okay, then. Okay, so the first word there is towards, not towards, towards.
Again,
Mm.
two words.
No, towards.
Towards.
That's better.
To-
The only way you can get yourself into that is keep recording yourself. That word, look on Google, listen to it on Google in the pronunciation bit, and just towards, because your tendency is to say two words.
Yes,
It's an old mistake. Everybody does it.
to-
Yes.
towards.
That's it. Then clothed has a silent E. Clothed.
Clothes. No,
Okay.
clothes.
Closed. Yeah, get that
Clothed.
duh sound. Yeah, closed.
Clothed.
Not bad. And then wicked has a voice D with an ed at the end. Wicked. Wicked.
Wicked.
That's it. And then weariness.
Weary.
No, not where.
Yes,
weary.
I said weary, but I said
Yes,
weary.
you said weary.
Yes,
To
weariness.
feel weary. Sing that song. Yeah? When you get
Weariness.
weary, women do get weary, wearing that same shabby dress. Okay. So, and the smiley is for war.
War.
Yes. Very good. Well done. Like
Thank
war, what
you.
is it good for? Very good. Well done. Okay. So the next person on my list is Nina. Nina, are you ready? Can I hear you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you.
Excellent. So as soon as you are feeling comfortable, if you...
Okay. Ah, said I, and he would have a feathered hat. He told me, no, that he was bareheaded like myself. At first, I thought Alan might have lost his hat, and then the rain came in my mind, and I judged it more likely he had it out of harm's way under his greatcoat. This set me smiling, partly because my friend was safe, partly to think of his vanity in dress. And then the old gentleman clapped his hand to his brow and cried out that I must be the lad with the silver button. Why, yes, said I in some wonder. Well, then, said the old gentleman, I have a word for you, that you are to follow your friend to his country by Torosy. He then asked me how I had fared, and I told him my tale. A South Country man would certainly have left, but these old gentlemen, I call him so because of his manners, for his clothes were dropping off his back, heard me all through with nothing but gravity and pity. When I had done, he took me by the hand, led me into his hut. It was no better, but presented me before his wife as if he had been the queen and I duck. The good woman set oat bread before me and a cold grouse, patting my shoulder and smiling to me all the time, for he had no English, and the old gentleman, not to be behind, brewed me a strong punch out of their country spirit. All the while I was eating, and after that, when I was drinking the punch, I could scarce come to believe in my good fortune, and the house thought it was thick with the peat smoke and full of holes as a colander, seemed like a palace. The punch threw me in a strong sweat and a deep slumber. The good people let me die, and it was near noon of the next day before I took the road, my throat already easier and my spirits quite restored by good fare and good news. The old gentleman, although I pressed him hard, would take no money, and gave me an old bonnet for my head, though I am free to own I was no sooner out of view of the house than I very jealously washed his gift of his in a wayside fountain. Thought I to myself, if these are the wild Highlanders, I could wish my own folk wilder. I not only started late, but I must have wandered nearly half the time. True, I met plenty of people grubbing in little miserable fields that would not keep a cat, or herding little kine about the bigness of excess. The Highland dress being forbidden by law since the rebellion, and the people condemned to the lowland habit, which they much disliked. It was strange to see the variety of their array. Some went bare only for hanging cloak of great coat, and carried their trousers on their backs like a useless burden. Some had made an imitation of a tartan with little parti-colored stripes, patched together like an old wives' quilt. Others again still wore the Highland filleback, but by putting a few slitches between the legs, transformed into a pair of trousers like a Dutchman. All those makeshifts were condemned and punished, for the law was harshly applied in hopes to break up the clan spirit. But in that out of the way, sea-bound isle, there were few to make remarks and fewer to tell tales.
Very good. Well done, Nina. Okay, a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but I didn't want to interrupt a paragraph. Sometimes the longer paragraph might catch you out. Remember, you can always stop when you want to. Does jealousy mean he was a bit aware of this hat because he was dirty? Maybe jealously. Maybe he feels he was being a bit mean-spirited doing that, but I think it was more to do with the fact that the hat had been worn. It might have some little creatures in it, maybe. Anyway, so Nina, your feedback. Any other questions? Everybody okay?
No.
Then here we go. So first of all, Nina, something you might need in October when it's grouse season. Grouse is a kind of bird. It's a hunted bird. It's often the glorious 12th is when the hunting season for grouse opens. So it's what we call a game bird, like pheasant. Okay, but grouse. Try it.
Grouse.
Good.
Grouse.
Good. And it's actually a verb as well. In this context, it's the bird, but as a verb, to grouse means to complain a lot. I'm always grousing about, I don't know, Windows 11 at the moment. Okay, next one, scarce.
Scarce.
That's it. If something's scarce, there's not a lot of it. Okay. Then the next one, your pronunciation was fine, but the stress was a bit off. Fortune. Not fortune, but fortune. Fortune.
Fortune.
That's it. Good, good, good. And then pressed. Silent E.
Pressed.
That's it.
Pressed.
A voice D coming up. Asses. It's not like asses in the American sense. This is a donkey crossed with a horse, I think is an ass. Okay, so asses. Try it.
Asses.
That's it. Then forbidden.
Forbidden. Forbidden.
That's it.
Forbidden.
Forbidden. That's it. Then rebellion.
Rebellion.
Yeah, we say rebel, but rebellion. Okay.
Rebellion.
That's it. Then coloured.
Colored.
Very good. And another silent E, patched.
Patched.
Very good. Well done. Not an easy word to say that. Patched. And then quilt, not quilt. Quilt.
Quilt.
Yeah, a patchwork quilt is something you might put over the bed to keep warm, and it's made up of bits of cloth sewn together. Patchwork quilt. Okay. Then you get two smileys, one for wilder.
Wilder.
Yeah, and the other one for Dutchman's.
Dutchman's.
Very good. Well done. Okay, the next person to read is Dom. Dom, are you with us? Have you found the right page?
Yes, I'm trying to read.
Good, good, good. If you would like to start as soon as you feel comfortable.
Okay, they seemed in great poverty, which was no doubt natural. Now that rapine was put down, and the shop kept no longer an open house, and the roads, even such a wandering country by track as the one I followed, were infested with beggars. And here again I mark a difference from my own part of the country. For our lowland beggars, even the gownsmen themselves, who begged by patent, had a looting, flattering way with them, and if you gave them a flake and asked change, would very civilly return you a bundle of badly. But these highland beggars stood on their dignity, asked alms only to buy stuff by their account and would give no change. To be sure, this was no concern of mine, except in so far as it entertained me by the way. What was much more to the purpose, few had any English, and these few, unless they were of the brotherhood of beggars, not very anxious, they sit at my service. I knew Thursday to be my destination, and repeated the name to them and pointed. But instead of simply pointing in reply, they would give me a screed of dialect that set me foolish. So it was small wonder if I went out of my road as often as I stayed in it. At last, about 8 at night, I already very weary, I came to a lone house where I asked admittance and was refused until I bethought me of the power of money in so poor a country. and held up one of my guineas in my finger and thumb. Thereupon the man of the house, who had hit hitherto pretended to have no English, and rebelliating his door by signals, suddenly began to speak as clearly as was scripted, and agreed for 5 shillings to give me a night's lodging and guide me the next day to Thursday. I slept uneasily that night, fearing I should be robbed, but might have spared myself the pain, for my host was no robber, only miserably poor and a great cheat. He was not alone in his poverty, for the next morning we must go 5 miles about to the house of what he called a rich man to have one of my guineas changed. This was perhaps a rich man for more. He would have scarce been thought so in the south, for it took all he had. The whole house was turned upside down, and a neighbor brought under contribution, before he could scrape together 20 shillings in silver. The odd shilling he kept for himself, protesting he could ill afford to have so great a sum of money lying took up. For all that he was very courteous and well spoken, made us both sit down with his family to dinner, and brewed punch in a fine china bowl, over which my rascal guide grew so merry that he refused to start. I was for getting angry and appealed to the rich man. Hector McLean was his name, who had been a witness to our bargain and to my payment of the 5 shillings. But McLean had taken his share of the punch, and vowed that no gentleman should leave his table after the bowl was brewed. So there was nothing for it but to sit and hear Jacobite toast and Gaelic songs,
Very
till
good.
all were
Oh, sorry. Yes. Carry on.
thank you
No, carry on till all were
all
tipsy.
till all were tipsy and staggered up to the bed for the barn for their night's rest.
Very good. Well done. Sorry, the timer went and I didn't look where we were in the book. Very nicely read, Dom. Well done. Well done. Okay, so any questions before I give Dom his feedback? Sorry for the dogs, that's fine. Dogs, babies crying, doorbells ringing, phones going off. It's all normal here. Okay, so first of all, natural. Okay,
Natural.
natural. Yeah, not al, natural.
Natural.
That's it. Often al
Natural.
ending is more of an ul than an al. Okay. Then
And,
chiefs, not chefs. Chefs cook dinner.
uh,
Chiefs in the Highlands.
ah,
Ah,
the,
chiefs, yeah. Chiefs in the Highlands of Scotland are the leaders of the clans. Okay, if you look a little bit up about Scotland, you'll find that the clans still exist. MacLean, MacDonald, all the clans still exist. The English, to their shame, did try to wipe out the clans, but they never managed it. You know, they never really get rid of somebody's culture like that. Okay, then louting.
what looking at it, loudly,
Louting.
loudly.
That's it. Behaving like a lout, basically. A lout is like a badly behaved, usually male person. So being a lout, young louts, badly behaved teenagers, that kind of thing. Then the same one we had earlier. Weary, weary, not wary. Weir,
Really
weary. Yes, weary means very, very tired. Okay. Then needful, needful.
needful.
Yeah, if you're
I need to
needful,
stress
you need stuff.
needful. Needful. Ah,
Yeah, so yeah,
needful.
if something is needful, you need it. Then scarce, not like scar, scarce.
Yes.
That's it. And locked up, locked up.
Yep. So, D becomes T, locked up.
Locked up, yeah. To be locked up, you could be in prison, or in this case, he's talking about his money being locked up, as in not available. Okay. And you get a smiley for hitherto. Well done. You worked it out. Hitherto.
Thank you.
Very good. Well done. So, let's see. Where's my list? I've lost my list. Ah, here it is. Okay. So the next person, last but not least, is Hermina. Hermina, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Have you got the right place in the book?
Yes, I
Excellent.
have.
So, as soon as you're ready, if you'd like.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me the chance to read. Next day, the fourth of my travels, we were up before 5 upon the clock. But my rascal guide got to the pottle at once, and it was 3 hours before I had him clear of the house, and then, as you shall hear, only for a worse disappointment. As long as we went down a heathery valley, they lay before Mr. McLean's house. All went well. Only my guide looked constantly over his shoulder, and when I asked him the cause, only grinned at me. No sooner, however, had we crossed the back of a hill and got out of sight of the house windows, then he told me Dorothy lay right in front, and that a hilltop, which he pointed out, was my best landmark. I care very little for that, said I, since you are going with me. The impudent cheat answered me in the Gaelic that he had no English. My fine fellow, I said, I know very well your English comes and goes. Tell me what will bring it back. Is it more money you wish? 5 shillings, May, said he, and Hazel will bring ye there. I reflected a while and then offered him 2, which he accepted greedily, and insisted on having in his hands at once, for luck, as he said, but I think it was rather for my misfortune. The 2 shillings carried him not quite as many miles, at the end of which distance he sat down upon the wayside and took off his brogues from his feet, like a man about to rest. I was now red hot. Ha, said I, have you no more English? He said impudently, no. At that I boiled over, and lifted my hand to strike him, and he, drawing a knife from his racks, squatted back and grinned at me like a wildcat. At that, forgetting everything but my anger, I ran in upon him, but aside his knife with my left and struck him in the mouth with the right. I was a strong lad and very angry, and he but a little man, and he went down before me heavily. By good luck, his knife flew out of his hands as he fell. I picked up both that in his brogues, wished him a good morning, and set off upon my way, leaving him barefoot and disarmed. I chuckled to myself as I went, being sure I was done with that roach for a variety of reasons. First, he knew he could have no more of my money. Next, the brooches were worth in that country only a few pence. And lastly, the knife, which was really a dagger, it was against the law for him to carry. In about half an hour of walk, I overtook a great ragged man, moving pretty fast, but feeling before him with a staff. He was quite blind, and told me he was a catechist, which should have put me at my ease. But his face went against me. It seemed dark and dangerous and secret, and presently, as we began to go on, alongside. I saw the steel butt of a pistol sticking from under the flap of his coat pocket. To carry such a thing meant a fine of 15 pounds sterling upon a first offence, and transportation to the colonies upon a second. Nor could I quite see why a religious teacher should go armed, or what a blind man could be doing with a pistol. I told him about my guide, for I was proud of what I had done, and my vanity for once got the heels of my prudence. At the mention of the 5 shillings, he cried out so loud that I made up my mind I should say nothing of the other 2, and was glad he could not see my blushes. Was it too much? I asked, a little faltering. Too much, cries he. Why, I will guide you to Dorothy myself for a dram of brandy, and give you the great pleasure of my company, me that is a man of some learning, in the bargain. I said I did not see how a blind man could be a guide, but at that he laughed aloud, and said his stick was eyes enough for an eagle. I'm not sure. Is my day not over yet? Sorry. Hello. Okay, in the Isle of Mull, at least, says he, where I know every stone and have a bush my mark of fate. See now, he said, striking right and left, as if to make sure. Down there a burn is running, and at the head of it there stands a bit of a small hill, with a stone cocked upon the top of that, and it's hard at the foot of the hill. That the way runs by to Dorothy, and the way here being for drafts, is plainly trodden, and will show grassy through the heather.
Very good, well done. Okay, so bear with me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, so very nicely read, Amina. Well done. And always
Thank
lovely
you.
to hear all your voices. So, any questions before I give Hermina her feedback? Everybody okay? Okay, so the first one, I think you just misread it. It's that, not they.
That.
Yeah, that's it. Then asked. Asked.
Asked.
That's it, good. To ask, but asked in the past tense. Silent E. Impudent. Again, your pronunciation was fine, but the stress was a bit off on impudent and impudently. So the stress is on that first syllable. Impudent. Try it.
Impudent.
Yes, okay. And then impudently.
Impudently.
That's better, good. And then said, not said, said.
Yeah, stupid mistakes. Sorry. Said, of course, said.
That's it. And then brogues. Brogues are a type of shoe. Okay, they still can be made today. They tend to be handmade by sort of craftspeople. Brogues.
Okay, brogues.
That's it. Then wildcat, not wild, wildcat.
Wildcat, of
That's
course.
it. And then put is not like putt. Putt is what you do in playing golf, and to put something, it's an O sound. Put. Try it.
Put.
That's
the double
it.
D should say it.
That's it. Put and put. That's it. Double T. Yeah. Then rogue, a little bit like brogue without the B. Rogue.
Rogue.
That's it. Then ragged. This one is a voiced E. Ragged.
Ragged.
That's it. Around the rugged rock, the ragged rascal ran, remember? And then presently. Again, the stress there. The pronunciation was fine, but the stress was a little off. Presently.
Presently.
Perfect. Then striking. To strike, striking.
Striking.
Get the S at the beginning. Striking.
Striking. Striking.
That's it. Perfect. Second one was great. And droves.
Hooves.
Droves. Yeah, droves of something means a lot of something. I guess from droving, which is like if you're a drover, you're somebody who herds animals. So there might be a lot of animals. So droves of, I don't know, people, lots of people. Okay, then you get a smiley for vanity.
Vanity.
That's it. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. Okay, and on that note, we will finish. Any questions before I disappear? Oh, okay, then today's readers go in with the list of your corrections. We're on chapter 15, page 111 in the PDF. And in the actual book, it is page 106. Okay. And we will be, I had to own he was right in every feature and told my wonder. Okay. So next week, this is where we're up to. And remember, it will be pinned. I'm going to pin it. So when you can't remember next week where we're up to, just look under pinned messages. Okay. So, and that's where you will also see, let me just see, get rid of last week's. That's where you'll also find the download for the book. Okay. But you can get the book on other places. It's out of copyright. You can download it in lots of places or read it online if you prefer. Okay, so I will see you all next time, I hope. You're welcome. You're all getting better in English. It just takes practice, that's all. Practice and a bit of feedback. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you next time. Let me remember.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Let me remember
Bye,
to actually end the
Bye,
session.
everyone.
Let me end the event. How do I find the event? Okay.
I don't get the message for the event today.
Did you not? Oh, I did start
No.
it properly. I did start it.
I
I think you were already here, so yeah. Anyway,
Yes,
I
I
will.
was, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I think I've ended it. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. And remember, put your name down to read before the session starts, please.